First off, my apologies guys, due to some issues my review's late. So anyway, I guess it's a safe bet to assume most of you have some idea of the other of the Yureka. So let's cut the intro short. U is a Micromax spin-off. Yureka is a rebranded Coolpad F2 LTE. And if this is your first time here, or in case you got frustrated with flash sales, punched yourself in the head and now can't remember, I'm not going to judge, I got pretty close to doing that myself. Anyway, my name's Ash, this is C4E Tech, and you're watching my full review of the Yureka. Let's get started. Let's start with the build. As far as looks go, there's nothing to write home about here. We've got the notification LED, earpiece, sensors and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera on top. The 5.5-inch display below that, and at the bottom the capacitive menu, home and back keys. To the back we have the 13 megapixel rear camera, LED flash, the secondary noise cancelling microphone. While the back's reminiscent of the one found on the OnePlus One, it feels different, softer. And at the bottom we have the rear speaker. The back is user removable, and inside we find the dual SIM card slots, the micro SD card slot and a user removable 2500 mAh battery. Up top we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, the volume rockers to the left, at the bottom the micro USB port and the primary microphone, and the power button sits to the right. With the 5.5-inch display, single-handed usage is a little difficult, but the 8.8mm thickness and 155 gram weight means this is not an unwieldy phone. The quality of the build feels fine, buttons feel tactile, no creaking or wobbling. In other words, while not flashy, the build quality itself is good. Next up, let's talk about the display. The Gorilla Glass 3 covered 5.5-inch IPS LCD display on the Yureka has a 720p resolution, meaning a pixel density of 267 pixels per inch. The whites are a little too cool for my liking, that is, you see a mild blue tint on the display. Add to it the fact that it's very reflective, sunlight legibility is mediocre at best. But then again, remember the Yureka is being sold in a market where phones with Quad HD displays are being sold for more than twice its asking price. So taking that into consideration, I'd say the display is okay. Now let's talk about the specs underneath. The Yureka is powered by a Snapdragon 615 chip housing two sets of Cortex A53 cores. The first set has all 4 cores clocked at 1.5 GHz each, and the other has 4 cores clocked at 1 GHz each. These 8 cores are coupled with an Adreno 405 GPU and 2 GB of RAM. There's also 16 GB of onboard storage, and if that's not enough, you can always add microSD cards up to 64 GB. Not only does the Yureka benchmark decently, the performance is also reflected in real-world scenarios like gaming. The Yureka managed to run almost anything I threw at it. At times, I did have to tone down the graphical settings though. It's also worth noting that it did run a little hot while gaming, especially towards the top of the phone, and the rear speaker's not too loud. The output quality is average. Audio via earphones though was good. Anyway, moving on, the Yureka sports a 13 megapixel f/2.2 rear camera that can shoot decent pictures. Under well-lit conditions, images turned out great. Color reproduction was good, the images were sharp, and there was ample amount of detail. Under not so optimal conditions though, a lot of noise did creep in. The 5 megapixel front camera produced good results too. The Yureka can shoot 1080p video at 30 frames per second and does an acceptable job. The footage could be sharper, but then again, given the price, that's nitpicking. The user interface is similar to the one we've seen earlier on the OnePlus One. Swipe up or down to cycle through a list of filters, or tap the settings icon to the side to fine-tune your settings. Feels intuitive and works well, nothing to complain here. In my honest opinion, what makes or breaks a phone is its battery life. On paper, a 5.5-inch display with a 2500 mAh battery doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, so I had pretty low expectations to begin with. And the Yureka performed better than I expected. The battery life isn't bad, but it is not great either. Well, it got me through a day on a single charge on most days. I did have to keep an eye out for that battery level, and I did need to be frugal with my usage at times. To put that into numbers, on a looping video playback test, the Yureka lasted almost 7.5 hours before running out of juice. So now let's talk about the software. The Yureka currently runs on Cyanogenmod 11 that's built on top of Android 4.4 Kitkat. An upgrade to Lollipop has been confirmed. Cyanogenmod looks similar to stock Android in some ways, but has a ton of tweaks built in. For example, you can double tap to wake the display, tap the notification bar to turn it off. You get an option to choose between capacitive and on-screen keys, and if that's not enough, you can customize the on-screen keys you want. You can even customize the notification bar, choose from an extensive list of themes, and if you want granular control, you get it with settings like privacy options and hell, even the ability to define how auto brightness works. Now, most phones in this price range are packing a Snapdragon 400, a MediaTek 6592, or at best a Snapdragon 410 chipset. The 64-bit capable Snapdragon 615 is much better than any of the aforementioned chips. Now, couple that with one of the fastest and most responsive ROMs in Cyanogenmod, and we have a phone that's almost as fast and snappy as flagships. With 2 gigs of RAM on board, multitasking is great, and no matter how many tabs or even apps I opened, the Yureka kept chugging along. The heating issue is present but seems restricted to gaming as of now. Actually, at times when on calls for a long time, the top part of the phone gets mildly warm, but that's minor compared to how hot it gets while gaming. Hopefully Cyanogen can push out an update to address this. So that being said, let's talk about the price, $8,999. Yes, this phone does have its flaws. The screen's reflective, the colors are a little too cool for my liking, the speaker output's low, heats up a bit. I know, yeah, it doesn't have a magnetic sensor, meaning you can't use it as a compass. It affects GPS performance a little. But at $8,999, the price tag more than offsets all these cons. But sadly, with the flash sale model, it's very hard to buy the Yureka. I personally dislike flash sales. I don't like it when Xiaomi did it. I don't like it now that Micromax and Lenovo are doing it. At least Xiaomi has a pretense. They claim not to have stocks. But to see brands like Lenovo and Micromax do the same, it's definitely not because they don't have stocks. I just see brands watching competitors getting media coverage from flash sales, a lot of attention from the developer community, and trying to follow a desperate Hail Mary in an attempt to stay relevant, if I can say that. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. As an end consumer, I don't really care if brands copy each other. Because I'm selfish, as long as it helps us get cheaper and better devices, I'm okay with it. But Micromax isn't really following suit here. They've just spun off a separate brand, they've priced the device extremely low, they sell as few units as possible, even in comparison with companies like Xiaomi and Lenovo, and they're hoping that this creates enough hype to take the spotlight off their competitors. I'd be happy if Micromax could address the existing issues that we've been facing for a long time. You know, things like having some actual R&D here in India instead of selling rebranded devices from Chinese OEMs, improving support, stop releasing new phones every week, providing updates for the existing phones that are being sold, release kernel sources so that some development can actually happen on existing devices. I honestly believe that doing a few of these could actually help people see Micromax in a new light and help them compete against Chinese newcomers who are just getting started in India. Sadly though, I don't see a brand wanting to change, just a brand hoping that amid all this hype about you and Yureka, people will forget all about the issues plaguing Micromax, and that's just distasteful. And anyway, that's not what this video is about. Sorry about that, I got a little carried away, sorry. So coming back, though I'm not a fan of the brand, the Yureka in itself is a good phone that achieves the great status thanks to its killer price. If you're looking at getting a phone in this price range, I believe the Yureka offers the best bang for your buck. So do get it, if you're able to get it, that is. So that's me guys, what do you think? Do you agree with what I've said about the Yureka in this video? Do you believe things are changing with Micromax? If you don't, let me know why and leave your thoughts in the comments below. So I guess that's pretty much it for this review guys. Hope you liked it. If you did, please do give this video a thumbs up. And for more videos like this, do stay subscribed. If you do have any feedback or video requests for me, you can hit me up on Twitter at C4eTech. That's where I'm most active these days. And once again, thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ashia from C4eTech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye bye now.